Hello Internet, James Allen from Out of 8, and today I'm playing real-time strategy game Tank Warfare Tunisia 1943. This is by the developer Graviteam, and as soon as I loaded up the game the first time I knew exactly what to expect, because other than the background, this is exactly the same main menu as Graviteam Tactics Mius-Front, and basically this game serves as kind of an expansion to it, although not in name, but it basically has the same interface, the same realism options. Everything's pretty much the same except for the campaign map and the units that are involved in the game. Game comes with a couple tutorials. It teaches you the real basics of the game. You also get a campaign. What I'm going to do is actually show you the beginning of it. So basically what you do here is you just order troops around the map. Simply just left click, right click to move them around, and when they get close enough to an enemy, then you get a battle that occurs, like right over here, and then you have to play out each battle. You cannot auto battle or auto sim any of the battles, so you actually have to play out every single conflict that happens on the map, which can take a while because each battle can take upwards of an hour for it to happen. So I will not do that at this time. We'll just go back to the main menu. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to make a battle in the battle editor and then play that, which is something I didn't do last time that I did a video for Mius-Front, so I will show that off here. What you can do, pick any part of the map in order to play on. So I'm just going to kind of pick over here near this little town. Well, actually I've played over there before. Let's do it over here next to that little town. We'll go a little bit north of it. Maybe not that far. There we go. So we'll kind of do it on this area. Then you can select what type of battle layout it's going to be. It's also be kind of a meeting engagement sort of deal. You can set up triggers if you want. I'm just going to kind of place units on here. So I have the friendly units here. Gives you a bunch of different options in here. I think I'm going to kind of do one infantry. We'll do an anti-tank platoon, actually. That might be interesting. So let's do that here. And then let's do, since it's called Tank Warfare, let's do some tanks. So we'll do a medium tank battalion. So I'll give them command and tank platoon over there. A couple of them. And then we'll kind of give even numbers for the Germans. So let's give another anti-tank platoon. And let's do 21st. Let's give them a command. Actually, let's put it over here. And a couple tank platoons. So there you go. So that's going to be our setup, and then you can save it. If you want to play it again, you can right-click to save it, or you can just play it outright, which is what we're going to do. You can select your time period, select your battle settings, all that sort of thing. So let's just click and play. Alright, so first thing you have to do is deploy your troops. So you have this little arrangement here. The colors on these things, the blue shows you the range that your units can see from that specific area on the map. The little squares on the inside show you the amount of cover that they have available on the map. Now, if you're familiar with Graviteam Tactics, this is the exact same interface that was in that game, which I reviewed a year ago. So there's really no changes to speak of there. Let's see what I want to do then. Let me move everybody. Annoyingly, they have two front things, but that's okay. Where are the objectives? Oh, actually, I have the objectives, so that's good for me. So we're going to kind of set up defensive positions. So we'll kind of move all those guns there. And then we can kind of space them out a little bit. So let me move you here. I'm going to have you guys take the road. And that's honestly probably where they're going to come in from. I'll have you guys go over here. So basically you can put one unit in each little square area. And I think, actually I might move this guy over here. Alright, so let's get these guys going. So I'm going to set these guys up on my right flank, kind of in the back because they're the commanders. I should probably set them up over here. So that guy there, I'll move that guy next to him, and then we'll have the tank at the front. Go. I'll move this entire... And actually probably keep one in reserve. I'm going to move these guys here. So let me move you up, you there. Gonna do a little line here. And then these guys I'll actually stick in the village over here. And that's not where I want them. That's okay. Alright, so that's all the units. When you play the campaign, or you can design larger scenarios that have a ton more units present. So, I'm going to finish my deployment. The AI will deploy initial orders. I don't even think I'm going to give any, because I'm kind of on the defensive here because I'm sitting on top of all the objective locations. So I think I'm just going to sit tight there. Now, when you click on a unit, if I were to give orders, you have all these options down here where you can cancel orders, pick whether they fire at will, what they fire at. You can mount or unmount things. You can fire at a specific target, do firing arcs. Now, you don't have to do any of this stuff if you don't want to, because the AI actually does a pretty good job micromanaging all your units, picking appropriate targets, moving into cover, getting into a good position, stuff like that. So you really don't actually have to do any of that stuff if you don't want to. You can also give orders by right-clicking, and then you can kind of have this little order wheel. They have kind of pre-scripted orders. You can have move, march down a road, fast move with the tanks in front, covert move, which tries to stay in valleys and stuff, take a defensive position, recon, which is good for trying to figure out where the enemies are located. I might actually push these guys up a little bit. Assault or attack a location. And another thing you can do is you can actually right-click on any of these options, and you get all these options for formation spacing, formation orientate, how many lines there are, whether they use smoke or roads or have the vehicles in the front, all that stuff. So you can further customize the commands if you so choose to do so. So I actually think I'm going to take these guys and give them a recon order to just kind of move up that way and then kind of scout out a little bit. I think that's all I actually want to do. A couple more interesting things before time starts. You can this is very realistic. It's kind of like the draw of the game is the realism of it. So you can see all these little triangles are where they can see out of the tank, which basically corresponds to where all the little portholes and windows are, which is pretty cool. That has that much of a realism set up. Instead of just saying, oh, it's reduced visibility because they're in a tank, it actually, calculates which angles they can actually see at. It has different line of sights, tools that you can do. Shows the whole area. This basically paints the whole area with everything they can see on the map. So a lot of little useful tools. So again, you can micromanage stuff if you want to, but you don't have to because the AI kind of uses all that stuff if you want. So I have paths set up. I have key points on. I think I'm ready to go. Now, as you issue orders, it costs command level, which basically prevents you from issuing a bunch of commands all at once. It's kind of simulation of radio traffic, I would say. It also requires you to plan things out a little bit more. So it's kind of an abstraction there to kind of simulate that part of it. Now, I don't expect too much action to begin with, so I'm going to accelerate time. Goes up to 6x. And then once an event happens over here, there's your enemy contact. It brings it back down to real time automatically. Alright, so there is a tank. So all these, you'll get all these little icons over here. This is basically radio communication from the leader to all these other units to basically attack this guy, which is what they're doing right now. So, and you can go all the way down to the ground here. You can click on a unit and attach the camera to them if you want, which is pretty cool to do when you have a tank. Kind of follow the tanks around. So these guys have radio communication, which is what that little symbol is. I'm going to start blasting away at these tanks. They took that guy out pretty good. So I actually probably will tell them to take a defensive position right there. That used up some of my command level. Not very much, but at least some of it. Anti-tank guns are in a really good position. Good job, me. One thing that's really annoying in this game is artillery. It's really effective, and it can decimate your troops if you allow it to. So you can right-click on these things and see who saw the enemy unit, all that stuff. So again, the interface and stuff is identical to what it was before. It gives you a lot of information, you know, command level, what type of communications they have, all sorts of stuff. So it's obviously simulating a whole bunch of things. The expense for that is that it's really kind of hard to get into, and it just looks intimidating, I think is the best way of saying it. The graphics aren't the best. I think especially if you zoom out a little bit, the textures are kind of muddled. Although it does evoke the feeling of, you know, the desert here. Might actually move these guys up a little bit. Actually, maybe just this guy. No, they're starting to shoot back. All right, so let's just do a move. Order on that guy. And these guys are just hanging out. They're getting radio commands from their leader too. I think I might actually, because all these guys are forward, I think I'm going to move these guys over here and protect my right flank. So we'll give them a move order. Not very expensive orders so far. Alright, so I can accelerate. You can accelerate time whenever you want, and whenever an event happens, it'll return it to real time. But and then eventually the AI, if it knows it's getting completely destroyed, it'll actually ask for a ceasefire and you can end the battle that way. So this is kind of like my size of battle. If you get a whole ton of troops, it can get kind of unwieldy to command them all, which is probably good that the AI does a pretty decent job controlling things, micromanaging it, so you don't have to worry about all these little commands at the bottom here if you don't want to. We are under fire. So let's move. Now let me turn paths and orders on so I can see these guys are shooting at. So you get these little lines here, very evoke combat mission, you know, sort of deal, showing who they're attacking. See, there's their anti-tank battalion that I gave them. So, oop, commander's killed. Vehicle lost. Oh, and they're starting to take out my anti-tank guns. Well, that's unfortunate. And these guys are going after them. Like I said, I'm worried about the flank over there. Are these guys actually moving? Yeah, they're just moving slow. Right, so we'll bring those guys up. I think I'm in a pretty good position, I'd say. Unless I start losing a bunch of stuff. A little worried about these guys. They're suppressed and confused. That's the morale system. Because they're starting to bring some firepower on them. They're attacking those guys over there. Heavy fire getting laid down. Yeah, here they come kind of down the road. They're trying to go around this way. Actually, that's a pretty good idea. AI is pretty good, I have to say. It's good at managing your troops, and it provides a good opponent to fight against. That adapts pretty well to what's happening on the battlefield. Vehicle lost. Yeah. I think these guys are pretty well taken care of, I would say. I think I'm actually going to probably pull these guys off to the other side. So I'm going to give you a move fast. Or march, yeah. We'll march there. And then we'll do a recon. Yep. There we go. So that'll be second waypoint. And that'll do it. So I'm going to pull these guys back over to the other side. Because I think these guys here have those couple tanks ready to go, so I'm not really worried about that. I am more worried about what's happening on this side. But again, defending is usually easier. These guys pounding these tanks. Yeah, there's your ceasefire. So I can accept that if I want to. I actually kind of want to see this battle go a little bit. Yeah, and there they are. I gave them that march order, so they will follow the roads automatically. So that's really cool. Again, the AI does a good job carrying out orders and stuff. Watch this guy. Hello, Mr. Coates. Alexander Coates. See everything except the tank in front of me is blocking it because the smoke right there in front of him is actually blocking his line of sight, which is again pretty cool. Turn the camera off. But, yeah, I think we can do the ceasefire. I think that's a pretty good look at, you know, what the game has in store. So we'll click that and get 30 seconds left. Yeah, I'll just speed through that. Pew pew. Alright, so minor victory, yay for me. So you get all these stats. I lost 14% of my forces. He lost 62%. And then you can scroll through all these different things. So a lot of different stats you can see there. So we'll go back to the main menu. Alright, so there you go. That is Tank Warfare Tunisia 1943. Like I said, it's really more of a expansion or DLC for Graviteam Tactics. It uses the same interface, the same realism. Basically, everything's the same except for the map that the game takes place on and the units. You know, because it has, you know, it's more of a Western Front type thing between the Americans and the Germans. So, you know, the game kind of prides itself on realism. It has realistic weapon ranges, armor penetration, damage, line of sight, communication, morale, all that stuff. The AI does a good job playing as the enemy. On larger maps, it'll flank you, and it'll use units appropriately. It also does an excellent job commanding your units when you give an order, choosing targets appropriately, finding cover, stuff like that. But all the realism in the game comes at a price. The game is really janky, for lack of a better word. The interface would scare off a lot of novice users. I mean, all you really need to do is look at the options menu. I mean, look at this. Look at this. This is the option game setting stuff. Like, if this doesn't sum up this game, I don't know what does. You know, a whole ton of options, but at a cost of it being set your interface colors, for goodness sakes. But at the cost of being, you know, more difficult to use and not really user-friendly. So, I mean, basically, if you like Graviteam Tactics, you'll like this game because it's more of the same. It's just set in a different area. You know, it has a new map and new units. Everything else is the same. If you don't like Graviteam Tactics because of how inaccessible it is, this isn't any better. It's the same game, just in a different area with different units. For better and for worse. You know, I do have an appreciation for the realism of the tactics that this game does employ, and there is definitely an audience for that. Personally, I would rather play a more accessible game like Steel Division that is more accessible and has a better, prettier interface and prettier presentation that I think is a little bit more engaging than what's present in this game. But like I said, if you like the Graviteam games, and this is another one that'll fall right in line with your expectations for the series. That's all I have for today. Until next time, bye now.